Welcome to Geneseo Today. News and insight on issues in and around Geneseo.
Hello, this is Geneseo Today, the show where we discuss all things Geneseo. I'm your host, Carolyn, and I am joined by SUNY Geneseo President Denise Battles.
Hello.
How are you doing today? I'm very excited to have you as a guest.
Very pleased to be here, Carolyn.
So the college has created a lot of initiatives this year, and this includes some types of rebranding, and I was hoping to just start by discussing that. What was the reason for rebranding the college as a public honors college?
Great question, and happy to respond to it. So over the course of many years, Geneseo has become an exemplar of a public liberal arts focused institution, offering a top-notch academic experience that's on par with the very best private liberal arts colleges, but doing so at an affordable and accessible price point. And so it seemed we had gained a reputation over the course of years, informally, as an honors college. With the system leadership acknowledging that as well, it made sense for us to lean into that identity and really go forward with that in a focused way. So that's the background behind the public honors college branding.
So just going off of the public honors branding, I'm wondering if any of the requirements are going to change for students coming in or anything like that, or is it just sort of a name that is attached to our university now?
Another good question. It's not that we expect to modify what we're doing. Instead, that honors college reputation had built over the period of many years. It's really kind of a formalization and an acknowledgement of who we have become and who we are and expect to be going forward. So one shouldn't expect massive changes to Geneseo. It's more a reflection of where we've been and where we are and expect to be going forward.
Also with Geneseo this year, we have decided to partner with University of Buffalo Law and create a program within, and I was wondering what the motive was behind partnering with University of Buffalo Law.
Sure. And actually, the University of Buffalo program is a great example of something we're doing on a broader scale. Geneseo has many aspects that distinguish us, consistent with that public honors college identity we were talking about. And we have a particular strength in recruiting students who have aspirations to go on to seek graduate education. And in fact, there was a study that came out recently, I believe last year, that identified Geneseo as being tied for number one among the nation's master's granting institutions for producing alums that go on to secure research doctorates. That's a point of distinction for us, knowing we have so many students who do aspire to go on to advance degrees. It made sense for us to partner with University of Buffalo and in fact other institutions to help ease those pathways for students so they can come into Geneseo, and if they aspire to a law degree, they have an eased pathway for attaining that. And so you can learn more about that and other kinds of programs looking at our website with our academic program finder.
So that kind of sets me up perfectly for my next question. Is there any intention of offering program collaborations like the one that we have with University of Buffalo to other programs in the future?
Yes, and we have had some other programs recently announced. So within the last several months, we've announced another partnership with University of Buffalo, this one with the School of Pharmacy, so that students who want to go on to get a PharmD degree can do so through a Geneseo program. It's a 3+4, so you can get your Geneseo degree and the PharmD degree through that pathway. We have also partnered with other area institutions. RIT is a great example. We now have a 4+1 partnership for students that want to go on and get a master's in sustainable systems from RIT's Golisano program. And so that's a 4+1. We have others that we aspire to, and we're constantly looking for opportunities. We know we have a growing number of students who are interested in the Masters of Public Health, for instance, and so we are currently exploring avenues for a partnership that would enable a similar kind of arrangement there.
We spoke about rebranding as a public honors college. I would like to know if you could just elaborate on what is meant by recommitting to liberal arts roots as stated in your president's letter from 2023 to 2024 in the president's report. Just because I feel like it's important to address what exactly that means if we are both rebranding as a public honors college, and I want to know what that means for the university itself.
Sure, and good question. The liberal arts and sciences have been a focal point for Geneseo now for decades, and that contributed to the public honors college, the liberal arts-centered honors college identity that we're currently branding under. And in fact, Geneseo now for decades has been the state's only member of a national organization called the Council of Public Liberal Arts Colleges, or COPLAC. And so the liberal arts is and has been central to our identity and what we do. And so it makes sense for us to kind of foreground that when we're talking about our aspirations. We have enjoyed a reputation as being a very strong COPLAC institution. In fact, next June on this very campus, we're going to be hosting the annual Summer Summit for the whole COPLAC organization.
Are there any initiatives going on right now to further kind of solidify our reconnection to our liberal arts roots?
I would say that's embodied in our strategic plan, and that's a 5-year plan that helps identify kind of the roadmap for where the college aspires to be as a public honors college, and it lays out our foremost priorities for how we're going to get there.
The strategic plan is set to be completed and kind of act upon from 2022 to 2027, that's correct?
Yes, it's a 5-year plan.
Can you just highlight a few of the main aspects of that strategic plan?
And so the strategic plan is really our roadmap, kind of charts out how we are going to proceed in getting to where we wish to be. And that's embodied in the Public Honors College or Equity-Centered Honors College vision that is contained within it. And so the strategic plan has 4 different focal areas. One is access, so prioritizing access to a Geneseo education. A second is student experience, so ensuring a high-quality student experience consistent with that public honors college identity. Another is outcomes, making sure that on the back end of the education that we're achieving at the highest level in terms of outcomes. And the fourth and final of those focus areas has to do with our infrastructure and financial sustainability. And so under each of those focal areas, we have specific initiatives that support our progress toward our vision.
What initiatives have there been, either within this strategic plan or being done currently, to increase enrollment? Because ever since, COVID and everything, lots of universities have taken a hit, especially at the SUNY system, and we felt that here in Geneseo.
Enrollment is a foremost priority for Geneseo and truly just about any higher education institution I can think of. And it's important in that regard to note that you mentioned pandemic, which obviously was a global phenomenon. In New York State, in our region, in the country, there is a general decrease in the number of traditional-aged college-bound students, having to do for a number of factors, but decreased birth rates are a key consideration there. So we have some pretty strong headwinds, especially at a campus like Geneseo, where we have generally recruited a traditional-aged student body. And so some of the efforts we have undertaken, among the most important, have been to modify our academic program portfolio, the set of academic programs that we have at Geneseo. Since 2015, we have added 11 new baccalaureate majors, for instance. And those majors draw students who then bolster our enrollment. We've also expanded our partnerships. So we've talked about the partnerships that we've had at the graduate end with University of Buffalo, with RIT, with other institutions. We've also developed partnerships with community colleges. Traditionally, Geneseo has brought in a fairly sizable complement of transfer students. And so to the extent that we can partner with our feeder 2-year schools, especially those locally, like Monroe Community College has traditionally been a strong feeder for Geneseo. By codifying and developing formal agreements, we help ease the transfer process. We've also done some things to put Geneseo on the radar screen of prospective students early in their academic trajectory through summer programs, for instance, or by having programs that allow students to either physically visit Geneseo or have a virtual experience so that we're on the radar screen when they are eventually looking for colleges. So all of those are efforts we've undertaken to bolster our enrollment.
We're doing a lot of things to increase enrollment, increase our visibility among prospective students. But if that doesn't help, what do the current low enrollment rates mean for the future?
Well, it's a great question, too. And I'll say that while we are very grateful and fortunate that we are a public higher education institution, which means we derive a significant portion of our funding through state resources, the fact of the matter is we, like most institutions, are heavily reliant on enrollment because that drives tuition and fee revenues, auxiliary service revenues, room rents, etc. And so that's in part why it's important that we continue to work to bolster our enrollment so that we can have the financial sustainability that I mentioned is central to one of our focus areas in our strategic plan.
Is there a likelihood that various programs will no longer be offered or cut in the future?
So with regard to our academic program portfolio, especially in this challenging national environment for enrollment, it's not hard to find examples of institutions that have implemented program cuts on a large scale. The fact of the matter is a healthy, responsible institution should constantly be reviewing our academic program portfolio, those sets of academic programs. I mentioned a minute ago that over the last 9.5 years, Geneseo has added 11 new academic programs. The fact of the matter is times change, priorities evolve. Programs should regularly be revisited and evaluated. So just as an example, back in the 80s, and yes, I know that's a very long time ago, I was a college student and I majored in geology. And at the time, I would say that while there was some incorporation of environmental issues, water quality issues into the curriculum I took, they weren't highly featured. Sustainability issues, resilience issues weren't a central focus of that curriculum. In a modern geology curriculum, they are. And that's an example of how things evolve. And that evolving could be curricular revision, it could be reducing a program, could be expanding a program, it could be deactivating a program. So those aren't things to fear. Those are things that reflect a responsible, healthy response to changing student interest, changing societal interest, market demand, and the like.
In case you're tuning in now, this is Geneseo Today, and today's special guest is SUNY Geneseo President Denise Battles. We have been talking about the college and the next steps following recent decisions in relation to both prestige and challenges of the college. I kind of want to shift from discussing the institution as a whole to focusing on you. So it was announced early this semester that you have decided to step down from your presidency after around 10 years. Can you just please explain what your next position is expected to entail, if you know?
Certainly, and appreciate the interest in what I'll be doing going forward. So my professional background is in STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and math fields. I started my academic career as a geology faculty member. And so after concluding my 10 full years as Geneseo's president, and it was important to me to just have that sort of decade-long period of service, I will transition to a role that will be based at the SUNY System Administration, which oversees the entirety of the 64 units, colleges, institutions that are within SUNY, on a role that focuses on women faculty in STEM. So part of that work will be to support the recruitment, advancement, retention, success of women faculty in STEM, with the goal being that we as a system will be a good reflection of the diversity of the state and the students that we serve.
So, which aspects of your higher education background in both administration and in education, like as a professor, specifically the sciences, do you think will help enhance your efforts in your next position?
Well, certainly my background as a woman in geology provided me with personal experiences, professional experiences along the way, so that I can speak to that. I've also, in my administrative roles, I've kind of come up through the ranks. So I've been a faculty member, I've been a dean, I've been a provost, which is a chief academic officer, kind of an institution's number 2 administrator, as well as a president. And so having served in a variety of roles, I think that brings a perspective where I can offer some leadership on these initiatives. As well, when I was a dean of the sciences back some years ago, I headed up a national initiative of about 500 of the United States colleges and universities on a women faculty in STEM initiative, and spearheaded a grant-funded initiative in that regard. So I've had some good experience there that I think I can tap at the system level.
So it's pretty clear that you have a deep connection to your next position with being a woman in STEM and obviously serving as a SUNY higher leader. What do you want and what do you plan on accomplishing in your next position?
So I'm hoping what I can do with that combination of experiences as a woman in STEM, someone who's headed up a national initiative in that regard, and as an administrator, I'm hoping I can build strong partnerships across those 64 colleges, universities, and entities that make up SUNY to work on protocols, best practices that support the recruitment, advancement, and success of women in STEM. That could be policies and procedures, that could be going after external funding in that regard, but that's the goal.
Do you expect there to be any trickle-down kind of effect from your next position back to Geneseo?
Absolutely. And in fact, even though I've announced that I expect to culminate my work as president here next summer, so after 10 full years, my status as a faculty member at Geneseo endures. And so that's probably less well known, but I do have an appointment here, not only as president, but as a geology faculty member. Doesn't mean I get the opportunity to go in and teach classes like I used to back in the day, but I do have that status, and that will continue. And so I'm hoping that the work I do at the system will have system-wide impacts, and because Geneseo is a member of that system, because I will continue as a faculty member based at Geneseo, and also in that Geneseo currently is wrapping up a national initiative on women in STEM, there's every reason to think that the work I'll do at the system level will have positive impacts for our campus.
You will be stepping down. We had the Dean of Students and then some other high leadership positions kind of step down or leave. And I was just wondering, what direction is the college going in relation to these changes in high leadership positions over recent years?
I guess I would go back to what we were talking about before about our strategic plan. And a strategic plan is that roadmap that identifies where we're headed. It embodies our mission, and an institution's mission is kind of a statement of who we are and what we do. The vision, which is, it outlines our aspirations. Where are we headed? Where do we want to be at the end of the strategic plan? It incorporates our values, the attributes or qualities that the institution finds central to our identity, and all of that is embodied in that strategic plan. And so when a campus has a good, solid, robust strategic plan, it really does help support the institution's forward progress, its momentum. And so even though leadership will change, it's just the nature of the roles, it's the nature of life. People don't come in and serve their roles in perpetuity. Obviously, there's turnover, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the nature of things. Having that strategic plan and having a good, sound sense of where we're headed helps in terms of stabilizing the progress and our continuity toward our goals.
After you leave, what would you like to see the college continue after your resignation? Obviously, you just mentioned that since we have the strategic plan and there's already our values in place, things don't necessarily completely shift, but what would you like to see changed or remain the same after you've left Geneseo?
I mentioned that my status as a Geneseo faculty member will endure, and so I certainly have a personal interest in seeing the campus continue to progress. I think Geneseo has worked hard and well to identify a distinctive identity that makes us unique within the SUNY universe of 64 colleges and universities. That public honors college, equity-centered honors college aspiration, the vision in that regard is something that's very powerful. I look forward to seeing continued progress there, even as I expect a new leader will build on that firm foundation and advance the college in a variety of ways in partnership with the campus stakeholders. And certainly I would be very happy and prepared to support that continued progress.
Is there anything else that you would like to address or you would like to add just as like a personal anecdote or anything like that?
I guess what I would say is that having made the decision and announced that I'm going to be transitioning, it's a tough thing. I love Geneseo. I've truly enjoyed and enjoy my work as president, even as I'm ready to take on a new challenge. This year has been interesting to me. There are a number of things I've done now on 10 occasions, but I have an opportunity with that announcement to look back, and it allows me to really deeply experience all of these as kind of it's the last time I will be doing something. And I've really appreciated the opportunity to go on that journey with the students and faculty and staff here, and all with an aim of continuing the progress of Geneseo. And so I made that decision, and it's a bittersweet one, even as I'm really excited to contribute to and to see Geneseo continue its progress as a foremost public liberal arts college for the 21st century.
So thank you for tuning in to Geneseo Today on WGSU 89.3, Geneseo's Voice of the Valley. This was SUNY Geneseo President Denise Battles. Tune in next time for more things Geneseo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Geneseo Today, news and insight on issues in and around Geneseo. To learn more about this show or to suggest guests or topics, contact WGSU at geneseo.edu.